Good afternoon, everyone. I want to use this opportunity to tell you a story of a civic institution changing both its city and changing with its city. But I want to go back a bit and kind of give you the context of where I come from. This is a picture from my city 100 years back. Just a couple of months after the country gained its independence, the country slided into a very bloody civil war where people killed 37,000 of their fellow new citizens in bloody battles and concentration camps around the country. These are children in my city now. Finland was twice selected as the happiest country in the world a while back. I could list several rankings where Finland and Helsinki rank high on government safety, on livability, on quality of life, on kind of learning results in schools and so on. But I kind of want to point out that this progress from one of the poorest countries in Europe to one of the most prosperous countries in Europe hasn't been an accident. It's been based on this idea that when you're as few as we are, 5 million people, you have to make sure that everyone can live up to their fullest potential. We come from a country where being a teacher is one of the most valued professions. I know. And our society is fundamentally dependent on people trusting the kindness of strangers, kind of believing in sharing and learning with other people. Schools and libraries have played a crucial role in making the country and Helsinki as a city what it is at the moment. Finnish people borrow, on average, 15.6 books from the library every year, which is 10 more than here in the US. But everything's not good. Still, in all this wonderful livability and safety and democratic city, people somehow seem on the edge. People are afraid of climate change. People are afraid of the future of democracy, on how globalization will affect us. Will you die alone? Will your children blame you? In a way, you know this discussion. Is a robot going to replace me? And the difficult thing is that when people feel like everything's shaking, they don't really act smart. When people are afraid, they start focusing on short-term, selfish solutions and focusing on survival. And what happens also is that people start searching for scapegoats. In a way, you start searching for someone who can take the pain away. You blame immigrants, conservatives, liberal elites, social media, traditional media, you get the drift. To highlight this, there was a recent academic survey in Finland that showed that 60%, 60, of the respondents said that they were hesitant to take part in public discussion, especially online, due to its hostile and polarizing nature. And I don't blame people if you look at what happens around us. It's kind of understandable that when you feel like everything's shaking around you, you focus on the areas that you can control. You focus on family, you focus on work and your home. But while this is very understandable on an individual level, a democratic city cannot function without a democratic public. And this is where kind of new solutions come in. So 100 years after my first image, we opened a new central library in Helsinki. It had been in the making for 10 years. The lot designated for the library to celebrate Finland's centennial independence couldn't be more central. It's right next to the central railway station, right opposite to the national parliament. It is the most expensive vacant piece of land in the whole country that was designated to a completely non-commercial building. The city carried out an open and anonymous architectural competition based on 2,000 dreams that were collected from people over 10 years. And the building has 3 floors, and the architects kind of managed to combine all the 2,000 dreams into this one building. So on the ground floor, it's kind of an extension of the public square with a cafe, a cinema, event space, and information points. You take the stairs up, and it becomes much more intimate with music studios, meeting rooms, sewing machines, 3D printers. And finally, you take the stairs up, and you enter book heaven. The idea is that you have 100,000 books, you have lots of natural light on this floor, and beautiful wooden surfaces. The symbolism of this building is very much built into its architecture. When you go on the balcony on the 3rd floor, you stand on the same level as members of the parliament on the other side of the street, which is a position not available for people before this. In its first year, Oodi in English, the library has won the award for the best new public library in the world. It's been on the cover of the New York Times. It's been named by Time magazine as 100 places to visit in the world this year. But more important than that, it's loved by the local people. We have 10,000 physical visits in this library every day. In a couple of weeks, we're going to break 3 million visits this year in this library, which is a lot in a city of 650,000 people. I think it's a lot for a library in any city. It's probably the most diverse place in our city in many ways. It is used by seniors, it's used by refugees, it's used by families with children, it's used by design tourists and CEOs. It's hosted a feminist one-week festival and the launch of Finnish government's new program. It's used by people from the countryside waiting for a train with their trolley, and it's used by the skateboarders outside the building who just need to use the bathroom. But it's also used for the traditional purpose of libraries, as in borrowing books. Actually, book loans in Helsinki at the moment are on a 5% incline, which is globally quite rare. But people also come to study for exams, they come to hem their trousers, they come to have a meeting with their NGO, they come to print massive stickers with our massive sticker printer machines, and they come to record a music demo for their new band. The building's commitment to openness and welcoming without judgment is also communicated in its art. This artwork by a Finnish artist, Otto Karvonen, on its main staircase is an endless list of groups that the building is dedicated to, which is crowdsourced from the public. His idea is that every person should find at least 3 groups that you belong to on this staircase. So the building is dedicated, amongst others, to lazy bones, reading clubs, the hounded, romantics, adopted people, the misguided, introverts, the childless, and yes, rich folk. During the opening weekend, we saw that this is working. We actually saw people tearing up when they realized that this building is created for them. With the library, the city communicates that we see your value and you deserve the best. Libraries have this radically generous assumption of people. Libraries see every person as unique, responsible, and curious. And it's amazing what happens when you treat people this way. The building is open from 8 in the morning till 10 in the evening. We have 2 security guards in the building, seldom working at the same time. So in a way, like when you trust people, they trust you back. I strongly believe, based on this experience that we've had over the last year, that people's belief in democracy requires regular, real experiences with other people. In Oodi, the library, we coexist rather than try to make people friends with each other. And we support this peaceful coexistence by having a very simple set of rules for a safer space that was created with our patrons. And those rules apply to the Prime Minister, to the homeless Roma people, or the visiting Crown Princess of Japan. We do not ask people to justify why they come in and how long they stay. And I know personally how important that is. When I was growing up in Finland in the early 1990s, I used to sneak into our local library because they had the national LGBT magazine. And I took it from the shelf, I put it inside a political weekly, sort of like The Atlantic, and I went to a corner to read it in case someone would see me. I wanted to understand that what is this scary thing that's happening inside me that's probably going to affect my future in many ways. And I wasn't ready to discuss that with other people. And I felt that the library, better than any other civic institution, provided that safety for me. And it's wonderful, even in the era of internet, our librarians see these journeys still every day, that people use the library for that. And libraries have this incredible potential to have this promise that you can build your best future here. You can be your best person in this building. 100 years back, libraries played a crucial role in democratizing learning and reading. And of course, they still hold those tasks. But I think if we look at the contemporary challenges that we have in our cities, we have to think about the role of libraries in a larger way. Libraries have a massive potential in bridging the digital divide, in bringing together the parallel realities in our cities, or building hope and action around climate change. But that requires that we're willing to change an institution. I think in too many cities, libraries have become an extension of social work than a place for the whole community to come together. In too many cities, libraries are a place that everyone kind of values in principle, but very few use in practice. And I think we lose out on their democratic potential if we let that go. We cannot live together only in principle. We have to live together in practice. And that means that we have to think of the services in a different way. I think all social classes need regular, real experiences of living side by side with other people. That's why next to language courses for recent migrants, our libraries grant digital access to fashion publications like Vogue. Why we loan out sports gear. Why we bring best-selling authors to the libraries. Why we just launched a personal trainer service for readers. Or why we just partnered up with a Major League basketball team so that we have 4 seasonal tickets for their games, which you can borrow from the library. And when this was launched, it's been copied in so many municipalities now. Our idea is that libraries shouldn't be the last resort. They should really be a place for everyone. And this seems to work. As a sign of success, we've issued 15,000 new library cards over the last year in our central library alone. Our library attendance in Helsinki is up by 50% from last year. In a city of 650,000 people, we will have over 10 million physical visits in libraries this year. This building cost 98 million euros to build. Our library system cost 35 million euros to run. But to put it another way, I don't think 50 euros per person for restoring people's hope in living together is a bad investment. If you want to learn more, there are direct flights to Helsinki from 5 American cities.